Hello, weirdlings, patrons, and casual observers. Today is Sunday, and tomorrow is Monday, the Vernal Equinox, March 21st, 2022. This signals the beginning of the spring season in the Northern Hemisphere. The word vernal is Latin and means of the spring and has Proto-Indo-European roots. Equinox is two words. It is also from Latin. The first part, equus, means equal, and nox means night. During the vernal or spring equinox, the amount of daylight and darkness is of nearly equal length. If you are residing in the southern hemisphere, this would equate to autumn. For countless centuries, people have celebrated the vernal equinox. From ancient Babylon, the goddess Ishtar was honored on this day. In Latvia, this season is Leldinas, where light wins the battle over darkness, and eggs are decorated. Among the ancient Norse, this was Disabloat, but per the lore, Disabloat was anywhere from Yule to the betweentide in February to this equinox. And in Lithuania, the goddess Marana is celebrated. And there are countless others, worldwide celebrations, all to recognize this day. It was Bede who first claimed Ostara as the Saxon version of a Germanic goddess Ostara. And that relation, for right or wrong, has endured. Today, many pagans mark Ostara, the vernal equinox, as a time of renewal and rebirth. In line with Ostara, there is Passover, Easter, and Good Friday. So there exists a general theme for the vernal equinox that again has an ancient reckoning. Certainly, the correlation of lapwings and hares is an Irish Germanic observation and tradition that dates back centuries. And recently, in Germany, a Matron statue erected by the Romans who resided in that region identifies Ostara, a presumed goddess of spring. But currently, there is no solid evidence to support her connection to Easter. So from the ancient Romans to the Anglo-Saxons, from the Germanic tribes to Bede, and more currently from Simak to Shaw, there is seemingly little consensus on there being a spring goddess at all, and what traditions there may have been, if any. Yet, there are numerous customs and traditions throughout old Europe of the lapwing and the hare. So it is that today we find ourselves on unstable intellectual ground, but with baskets of decorated eggs and yummy chocolate bunnies. And so it is that my family, too, maintained its own traditions and customs of this tide that I will now share with you. My family calls this tide Grantiari, or sun's rise. We recognize it as the tide of love, falling directly across the wheel of the year from the autumnal equinox, Granari, the tide of life. At this tide, we foster within ourselves the ideas of compassion and conviviality, of fertility and the necessity of spiritual sustenance. Each tide is more than a seasonal shift, but has a psycho-spiritual component. For us, eggs are best given as personal gifts from one person to another. This simple act is a sign of our care for the recipient, for our desire to support and nurture them. And because this is a handcrafted gift, our realization of the receiver's potential within our kin group. As such, the egg represents a summation of our potential, of the development of self, and the tenderness we share from one individual to another. So bring in a spring branch and decorate it with tiny little ornamental eggs. Or create an Easter wreath for your front door, wrapped with bright colors. Or, as I did this weekend, I started my first seasons in my hoop house. That's the beginning of my garden for the year. Or do some deep spring cleaning, shaking out the old to make way for the new. Or bake an egg bread or a loaf of bread that contains a whole decorated egg. Absolutely honor your ancestors and perhaps adorn their home shrine with green and blue ribbons, with spring flowers and rose quartz. Or meditate or journal about your feelings of spirit and how your feelings may be rising as sap rises right now through branches, and that your potential is also waiting to burst forth into something new and wonderful. Finally, for my patrons, there will be a private members-only post on the deeper Seder and psycho-spiritual aspects of this time. Until then, and as always, in all you do, remain happy, remain healthy, and remain whole.